The controversial rise of Zarya Luhansk, a Ukrainian imposter in Russian football. Imagine walking into a football stadium just 20 miles from Ukraine's occupied territories and witnessing a new team making waves, yet this team isn't the real deal. On April 12, a fresh club hit the field in Russia's football system, drawing a decent crowd to Novocolor Arena in Kamensk-Shaktinsky, spurred on by buzz on social media. They kicked off their journey in the third league, the fifth tier of a complex and ever-shifting Russian league structure, with a commanding 5-0 victory over Volgar Astrakhan's secondary squad. Some fans even traveled by chartered bus from the city they claim to represent. The name? It's a familiar one. But behind the moniker Zarya Luhansk lies a tale of audacity and controversy. The original Zarya Luhansk, an esteemed Ukrainian club with a 102-year history, currently sits 8th in Ukraine's Premier League, hosting European opponents nearly every season before being displaced from their home city by war and occupation. Hosting Manchester United in 2016 is just one highlight from their storied past. Knowing this, the idea of such a club abandoning Ukraine to compete in Russia's leagues sounds almost laughable. Yet, that's exactly what this new Zarya has done. Slightly different in spelling, but, shockingly, very similar in name, this imposter was created in December 2023. Since then, they've played 82 matches, mostly in a so-called Commonwealth League, a competition set up for teams from regions annexed by Russia. Their ambition? Rapid ascension. They finished third last year in a 10-team league that includes a sham Shakhtar Donetsk, deliberately mimicking the original Ukrainian giants. Crossing this line feels like a provocation, yet surprisingly, football authorities haven't really pushed back. Zarya argues they're simply playing in Russia now, not in Ukraine, especially since they host matches on Russian soil, citing political and military restrictions as the reason they haven't returned to Luhansk. They've even trained at former Zarya venues, like Avangard Stadium and Perevalsk, subtly claiming a symbolic link to their Ukrainian roots. This whole setup is hard to ignore. It's a project conceived under the auspices of the illegitimate Luhansk People's Republic, which controls the city's territory. Football is being subtly weaponized to normalize a narrative that dismisses Ukraine's sovereignty and history. The concern is that if Zarya gets promoted to the Russian Football National League 2B, the fourth division, they could face clubs from Crimea, which has also been incorporated into the Russian system despite international disputes. Ukrainian authorities and FIFA have raised their voices, criticizing the breaches of rules that prohibit Crimean clubs from competing in Russian-organized tournaments. But loopholes and ambiguous regulations seem to let this situation slide. The Russian football system, backed by the Russian Football Union, claims that these leagues are amateur and separate from official professional ranks, even as evidence shows many of these clubs operate fully professionally. The silence from UEFA and FIFA on the broader political implications, particularly regarding Crimea and now Luhansk, raises questions about how much this creeping integration will be tolerated. While Russia's national teams and clubs remain banned from international competitions, the quiet expansion of proxy clubs into the Russian league system suggests a much subtler form of territorial assertion. Just recently, in Crimea's Yevpatoria, Zarya celebrated a 3-0 victory over Shakhtar, with a stunning goal that ignited the crowd. The cheers weren't just for the goal, they were for the symbolic win of a club rooted in occupied territories, marching step by step into Russia's football system. How far will this infiltration go? Will it become normalized, or will international authorities step in to halt this curious confluence of sports and geopolitics? Time will tell, but the rising tide of imitation and occupation in football is impossible to ignore.